We got masa harina in our balikbayan box, mostly so I can make corn tortillas, and I want to try and make tamales. But today we're making tamale pie. The dough is very simple. Of course, with the dough, you want to mix all your dry ingredients together first, then start adding in the liquids, incorporating it a little at a time. I keep a little flour and water both set aside, pre-measured, but I add them just a little at a time until I get the consistency I'm looking for. It's when you mix it, it's similar to shortbread dough. If you try and pick it up, you'll see it's like really gooey and squishy. But if you start rolling it around, it takes its shape and stays spongy. It's a very interesting dough. Once you're satisfied with the dough, set it aside and let it rest while you start preparing the filling. I'm pretending to mash my onions, garlic, and peppers, but you know I really cheated and use a knife. Chop them up and get your spices pre-measured, and then start cooking your meat. So it's time to go outside and cook, because we don't have a kitchen inside the house anymore. When the meat is almost finished, I like to kind of make a hole in the center there and dump all the onions and garlic and peppers and just saute them there in the oil for a few minutes. You'll start smelling them, they start to soften, the onions get a little translucent. Masa harina is impossible to find here. The feed stores have ground corn, but since it's prepared for pigs, I didn't really want to trust it. I've known some people that used it, but I would rather not. Then I'll add the spice. Stir that around for a little bit. Don't want to burn the spice, but the heat helps kind of freshen it up. Now, unfortunately, here in the Philippines, we are somewhat limited on our purchasing. So I will be cheating today and not exactly using my own spice mix. Generally in the US, I just make my own because I can get everything at the grocery store. Today we'll be using a package of taco seasoning. You dissolve it in half a cup of water, and then you let it simmer in the pan for a few minutes and it thickens up. I believe it's got some cornstarch in it to help kind of gravy it up a little bit. I haven't actually looked at the package, but it's got a thickening agent, which is kind of nice. Usually I would do my own spices and some cornstarch. This actually is pretty good, and with what's available here, hey, it works. And my wife loves it, so she doesn't eat much of my cooking. So anything I can make that she likes is a plus. So once this is all cooked up, we're going to go back inside and assemble it. The assembly is actually very simple. I would recommend you do not use a springform pan, which I am using, because they do leak a little around the bottom. They hold dough, but they don't hold the meat juices, so it will drip in the oven. But it's what I have, so it's what I'm doing. Spread the dough evenly, raise up a lip around the sides to give the meat somewhere to go. Put in the meat, try and get everything as level as you can, smooth it out, and then put the dough on top. You might want to spread that dough out a little better than I did. We're going to work on that. As I made it, I was thinking I needed either more dough or a smaller pan because it was tearing a little bit, the meat juices were coming out, so I thought maybe there wasn't enough dough. Keep watching and you'll see how it turns out. Surprisingly, spoiler alert, this turned out great. Once it's all prepped, try and seal the edges a little bit. You put it in the oven. In a real oven, you would cook it about an hour. In this thing, it takes about an hour and a half. So cover it with foil, let it cook. Towards the end, I like to take the foil off to brown that top a little bit more.
Gonna use that or spoon?
I've already got a fork. Generally, I do eat with a spoon. Okay, let's try it. Hey, that's pretty good. The cornbread part turned out really nice. I knew the meat was going to be good. But let's look at this cornbread. It's cooked pretty much all the way through, which is good. The top is crispy. We'll try and cut a slice of it and see what it looks like. Actually, that held together better than I thought it would. Not bad. Next time, I think I might add some cream corn and or cheese to the cornbread mix just to try that out. It held together surprisingly well, especially with as much as I've been poking at it. The other slices worked much better. The first night, of course, is the best because it's still juicy and fresh. The leftovers, the juices kind of soak into the cornbread, but that helps it hold together better. And look at how thick that dough is. It rose, it puffed up a bit, I thought it was going to be too thin, the dough, but it actually worked out really well. I always like to garnish it with some hot sauce and grated cheese. Serve it with, rice and beans. I'm not going to make refried beans today. I'm just going to use a can of pinto beans and spice them up because I'm too lazy to do the refrieds. But for an experiment, this turned out really well. And my wife liked it, which is a huge plus. Enjoy your day in paradise.